The snow is not quiet. It only pretends to be. Beneath the white surface, something shifts. A slow, uneven movement. A hand. It breaks through the crust of ice like something returning from burial. The fingers tremble, clawing at air. Then a second hand appears. And finally, a face, covered in frost, eyelashes frozen together, breath ragged and shallow. He does not remember the explosion. He remembers only the silence afterward. Private Emil Hartmann was 19 years old when the valley swallowed his regiment. Not in a dramatic charge. Not in a glorious stand. But in confusion, fog, snow, and miscalculated coordinates. Artillery meant for distant hills fell short. Lines dissolved. Voices vanished. When Emil finally pulls himself free from the drift, the world is colorless. Gray sky. White earth. Black skeletons of trees. No movement. No gunfire. No orders. He calls out once. The word barely escapes his cracked lips before the wind steals it. No one answers. His rifle lies a few meters away, half buried. He retrieves it mechanically, brushing off ice. The barrel is intact. Ammunition pouch still attached. Training returns before thought does. Check weapon. Check body. Check direction. He finds his compass hanging from his neck. The needle shakes slightly, disturbed by nearby metal wreckage. He does not know where the front line is anymore. The valley looks the same in every direction. White rising into white. The wind grows stronger by afternoon. He understands something quickly: if he stays still, he will freeze before anyone finds him. So he begins walking. Not toward certainty, but away from death. Hours pass. Or minutes. Time dissolves in monotony. He avoids looking at the bodies half covered in drifts. Some are his own regiment. Some are not. Uniforms do not matter under snow. War reduces identity to shapes. As dusk approaches, the temperature falls sharply. His fingers grow stiff despite gloves. He spots a structure in the distance, barely visible through fog. A farmhouse. Roof partially collapsed. One wall blackened by fire. But standing. He moves toward it without hesitation. Inside, the air is marginally calmer. The wind becomes a muffled howl instead of a knife. He closes the door as best he can with debris. There is no stove intact. No food visible. Just emptiness. He searches drawers methodically. Finds nothing but a cracked porcelain cup and a child's wooden toy horse. He stares at the toy longer than necessary. Then places it back gently. Night arrives early. Complete darkness swallows the valley. He does not dare light a fire, smoke would betray him. So he sits against the wall, knees drawn close, conserving warmth. The silence becomes heavy. Then, faintly, he hears something. Not wind. A low metallic rhythm. Clink. Pause. Clink. It is distant. Irregular. He freezes. The sound comes again. Clink. Metal striking metal. Not natural. Not random. Deliberate. Someone else is out there. His first instinct is hope. The second is fear. Because he does not know who would be searching this valley after sunset. He crawls toward the broken window and carefully lifts a loose plank. The fog outside glows faintly under moonlight. Then he sees it. A lantern. Moving slowly between wreckage. And beside it, a solitary figure. Dragging something heavy. stopping every few steps. Clink. The metal sound again. The figure bends down near a body in the snow. Removes something. Dog tags. Collecting identification. Emil's heartbeat accelerates. If it is one of his own, he could reveal himself. If it is enemy salvage detail, he could be discovered. The lantern lifts slightly, illuminating part of a uniform. Different from his own. Not his regiment. Enemy. The soldier continues moving methodically across the valley, unaware of the farmhouse observer. Clink. Another tag removed. Emil grips his rifle. His breath fogs the window. He realizes something worse than immediate danger. If the enemy soldier is here alone, it means the front line has shifted. The valley is no longer contested. It has been abandoned. And he is behind enemy lines. The lantern moves closer to the farmhouse. Step by step. Slow. Patient. The figure stops near the doorway. Emil slides backward into shadow. The wooden floor creaks under shifting weight. Outside, boots compress snow directly beside the wall. The lantern light flickers through cracks in the boards. He hears breathing. Close. Very close. The metal sound comes again, but softer now. Clink. As if the soldier outside is removing tags from someone directly beside the farmhouse. Or perhaps. Emil swallows hard. The latch on the door moves slightly. Not fully. Just enough to test resistance. A pause. Then another slight movement. The soldier outside is checking if the structure is occupied. Emil raises his rifle slowly. His finger rests near the trigger. But he hesitates. If he fires, others may hear. If he does not, the door may open. The lantern light grows brighter under the gap. A shadow crosses the threshold. The latch lifts fully this time. The door begins to open. The door does not open all at once. It hesitates. As if even the wind is unsure whether to enter. The lantern light spills into the farmhouse in a thin, trembling line. It stretches across the frozen floorboards like a blade. Emil does not breathe. His finger rests against cold metal. The door pushes inward with a long, aching creak. The man with the lantern steps inside. He does not rush. He does not shout. He simply stands there, framed in dim amber light and falling snow. Alone. He looks older than Emil first expected. Not elderly. But worn. His face carries the fatigue of someone who has not slept properly in months. His uniform is marked with mud and frost. His rifle hangs low, not raised. He closes the door behind him carefully, shielding the lantern flame with his palm. The two men are now inside the same room. Separated only by shadow. The enemy soldier sets the lantern on the table. Its light reveals the room in fragments. The broken chair. The toy horse on the shelf. And faint footprints on the floor, Emil's. The man notices them immediately. He pauses. Slowly, deliberately, he reaches for his rifle. Not panicked. Not hurried. Just prepared. Emil tightens his grip. This is the moment. Training tells him to fire first. Survival demands silence. His mind fractures into two competing voices. One says, "You are a soldier." The other says, "You are 19. The lantern flame trembles as a draft moves through the cracks in the walls. The man with the lantern speaks quietly. "I know you're here." His accent is thick. His tone is not hostile. It is tired. Emil does not respond. Silence becomes heavier than gunfire. The older soldier takes a step forward. The floor creaks sharply under his boot. Emil reacts instinctively, stepping backward. The wardrobe behind him shifts slightly. Wood scraping wood. The sound is small, but final. The lantern lifts. Light finds Emil's face. Two pairs of eyes meet. Neither fires. The distance between them is no more than 6 meters. Enough to end a life. Close enough to see frost forming in each other's eyebrows. The older soldier studies Emil carefully. He sees youth first. Then fear. Then exhaustion. He lowers his rifle, not completely, but enough to show restraint. "You are alone?" he asks. Emil does not answer. He cannot trust words. The older soldier exhales slowly. "I am alone too." Snow rattles softly against the roof. For a long moment, nothing moves. Then the man gestures toward the lantern. "If I wanted you dead," he says quietly, "you would not have heard the door." The statement is not arrogance. It is simple fact. Emil's rifle trembles slightly in his hands. The war outside this farmhouse is vast: divisions, strategies, commanders. But inside, it has reduced to 2 breathing bodies in a single decision. The older soldier removes his gloves. Places them on the table. An intentional vulnerability. "I collect tags," he says. "So families know." He lifts the small pouch at his belt. The metal clink echoes softly. Emil understands now. He is not a scout. Not a hunter. He is gathering names from the dead. Emil slowly lowers his rifle a few centimeters. Not surrender. Not trust. Just hesitation. The older soldier nods slightly. He moves toward the broken stove and kneels beside it. "There is dry wood in the shed," he says calmly. "If we block the cracks, smoke will stay low." Emil stiffens. A fire means warmth. But also risk. "You fear patrol?" the man asks without turning. Emil finally speaks. "Yes." The word feels foreign in his mouth. The older soldier gives a faint, humorless smile. "Good. You should." He begins arranging small pieces of wood. Methodical. Unthreatening. Emil watches every movement. The silence between them shifts from confrontation to calculation. 2 enemies sharing the same frozen air. The older soldier strikes a match. The small flame flares bright, dangerously bright, before settling. He shields it carefully. Smoke curls upward in thin, controlled ribbons. The room grows warmer by degrees. Barely noticeable at first. Then undeniable. Emil's fingers begin to ache as circulation returns. Pain is proof of life. They sit opposite each other, separated by the weak firelight. "Name?" the older soldier asks. Emil hesitates. Then, "Emil." The man nods. "Matthias." They do not exchange ranks. Rank does not matter here. Outside, the wind begins to die down. Which makes the next sound far more distinct. Boots. Multiple. Crushing snow in rhythm. Not one man. A patrol. Close. Matthias' eyes sharpen instantly. The firelight flickers across his face. "They sweep the valley at night," he whispers. "Looking for stragglers." Emil's pulse spikes. "If they find me, they will assume I captured you. And if they do not?" Matthias does not answer. The boots grow louder. Voices now, distant but approaching. Emil looks at the single door. No back exit. No cellar. Nowhere to run. Matthias stands slowly. He grabs Emil by the collar, not violently, but firmly. Listen carefully, he says under his breath. You will drop your weapon. You will kneel. You will not speak unless I speak to you. Emil stares at him. You would protect me? Matthias' jaw tightens. I will protect my story. The boots stop outside the farmhouse. A knock on the door. Sharp. Authoritative. Matthias pushes Emil toward the wall. Emil drops his rifle. It hits the floor with a dull thud. The knock comes again, harder. Open, a voice demands in Matthias' language. Matthias lifts his rifle. His expression changes completely. No fatigue now. Only discipline. He opens the door. 3 soldiers stand outside, snow clinging to their shoulders. Their eyes immediately scan the room. They see Emil. Kneeling. Unarmed. One of them steps inside. Points at Emil. Prisoner, he asks. Matthias nods once. Yes. Found him hiding. The soldier approaches Emil slowly. Examining him. Studying his uniform. His youth. The soldier turns back toward Matthias. Orders are clear, he says flatly. No transport for strays. We finish it here. The room freezes. The fire crackles softly. Matthias' grip tightens on his rifle. Emil lowers his gaze to the floor. Snow drifts through the open doorway. The patrol leader raises his weapon calmly and points it at Emil's head. The trigger does not move. Not yet. Snow slips through the open doorway and melts instantly on the farmhouse floor. The lantern flame bends toward the draft. Emil kneels. He does not look up. He watches a single drop of melted snow travel along the wood grain. Strange, the details the mind chooses when death feels close. The patrol leader's rifle remains steady. Orders, he repeats. Matthias does not lower his weapon. But he does not raise it either. A narrow line exists between obedience and defiance. He stands exactly on it. He has value, Matthias says evenly. Command may want interrogation. The patrol leader studies him. You are not command. The other 2 soldiers shift slightly inside the doorway. Snow crunches beneath their boots. Emil hears the subtle movement of leather straps. The exhale of controlled impatience. The patrol leader steps closer. He presses the barrel lightly against the back of Emil's head. Finish it, he says. To Matthias. The room contracts. The fire crackles once, loud in the silence. Matthias walks forward slowly. Every step deliberate. He stops beside Emil. Close enough that Emil can hear his breathing. Close enough to sense hesitation. Matthias raises his rifle. Points it downward. At Emil. The metal feels heavier than before. The patrol leader watches carefully. Testing him. Waiting. Emil closes his eyes. He does not pray. He simply listens. The wind outside has faded. The valley is almost calm now. Matthias inhales deeply. Then lowers the rifle slightly. There are tracks beyond the ridge, he says calmly. Fresh. Not his. The patrol leader frowns. Matthias continues without breaking eye contact. If we waste time here, we lose them. A long pause. Snow continues drifting inside the doorway. The patrol leader looks toward the darkness outside. He weighs time, energy, authority. Finally, he lowers his weapon. "You will bring him at dawn," he says to Matthias. "To the transport road." Matthias nods once. The patrol turns and steps back into the night. Boots fade gradually. The engines do not start. They are on foot. Their silhouettes dissolve into fog. Matthias closes the door. The latch falls into place. Silence returns. But it is no longer the silence of isolation. It is the silence of consequence. Emil remains kneeling. He does not move until Matthias speaks. "You can stand." Emil rises slowly. His legs tremble. Matthias stares at the door for several seconds. Then he turns back to Emil. "At dawn," he says quietly, "they expect to see you." Emil understands the implication. "And if they do not?" "They will search." The fire has burned lower now. The farmhouse feels smaller than before. War has re-entered the room. Matthias walks to the table and empties the pouch of dog tags onto its surface. Metal against wood. A collection of names. He pushes them aside gently. "Do you know how far the ridge is?" he asks. Emil shakes his head. 3 kilometers. West. That is toward Emil's former line. Or what used to be his line. "If I take you there now," Matthias continues, "the patrol may cross our path." "If we wait?" "They expect movement at dawn." Emil studies him carefully. "Why help me?" Matthias does not answer immediately. He looks at the toy horse on the shelf. "My son is 12, he says finally. "If you were lost in snow, I would want someone to hesitate." The firelight flickers in his eyes. Not weakness. Memory. Emil swallows. The war outside is vast, mechanical, relentless. Inside this farmhouse, it has become personal. Matthias begins extinguishing the fire carefully. "We leave now," he says. "Snow will cover tracks before morning." They step outside together. The valley is transformed under moonlight. Still white. Still endless. But no longer empty. They walk without speaking. The snow is deeper here. Each step requires effort. Breath clouds the air between them. After a long stretch of silence, Emil asks quietly, "What will you tell them?" Matthias keeps walking. "That you escaped. And they will believe you. They will believe what preserves order." The ridge rises gradually ahead, a dark outline against pale sky. Halfway there, the wind shifts. A distant whistle cuts through the air. Short. Sharp. Signal. Matthias freezes. Emil does too. Another whistle responds from somewhere behind them. The patrol. They are sweeping early. Matthias looks toward the ridge. Then back toward the farmhouse, now barely visible. Their footprints stretch clearly behind them. Too clear. The moon is bright. Too bright. "If we run," Emil whispers. "They will hear." The whistles grow closer. Snow crunching in multiple directions now. Encircling. Matthias scans the terrain quickly. There is a shallow depression to the left, where artillery once struck. A crater partially filled with drift. He grabs Emil's sleeve. "Down," he whispers. They slide into the crater. Snow collapses slightly over them. Cold presses against their bodies. Boot steps pass somewhere above. Voices murmur. A beam of light sweeps across the valley. Pauses. Moves on. Emil's face is inches from Matthias. Their breathing synchronized by fear. The snow above them shifts slightly as someone steps near the crater's edge. A boot stops. Right above. The light begins to lower. Searching. Matthias slowly reaches inside his coat. Emil's eyes widen. He pulls out one dog tag. Not his own. He grips it tightly in his gloved fist. The boot above them shifts again. The beam of light narrows. Matthias looks at Emil. No words. Only decision. He raises his hand slightly, for. The whistle has faded. Silence now holds the valley like a weight. Emil exhales slowly, feeling each breath as if it might betray him. The ridge is quiet. Too quiet. The patrol is gone. Their search incomplete, their authority momentarily paused. He watches Matthias, still, unshaken, a shadow against the rising sun. The rifle is slung loosely over his shoulder, but the tension in his shoulders remains. Every instinct still alert. How long, Emil whispers, voice cracked from cold and fear, before they realize? Matthias does not answer. He scans the horizon, eyes narrowing at the skeletal outline of distant trees. Frost clings to each branch like fragile crystal, each twig a potential hiding place, a potential trap. The wind shifts, carrying with it a faint metallic tang, gunpowder, or perhaps blood. Emil cannot tell. He shivers, though the day is still cold enough to numb him. Matthias kneels suddenly, pointing at a depression in the snow, a half-buried crater where the earth had been torn open by artillery months before. He crouches beside it, inspecting the hollow carefully. Tracks, he says quietly, voice almost lost in the wind. They were here. Hours ago. Emil leans closer, noticing the subtle disturbances, snow flattened unevenly, a scarf caught on a splinter of wood. Nothing definitive, yet enough to remind him that the patrol's reach is patient, relentless. The silence stretches. It is heavy, oppressive, and yet fragile. Emil realizes that every decision, every hesitation, has been shaping a delicate balance. One misstep, and it could all collapse. They move cautiously along the ridge, boots pressing into hard snow. Each step is deliberate, measured, a ritual of survival. Emil's thoughts drift unbidden. The farmhouse, the glow of the dying fire, Matthias' quiet authority, these moments of humanity, fleeting and fragile, have become more vivid than the battlefields they fled. Why did you help me? Emil asks again, softer now, almost as if speaking aloud might dissolve the question entirely. Matthias does not answer immediately. He stops at the crest of the ridge, staring down into the valley below. Frost clings to his coat, icicles forming at the seams. His breath hangs in the air, a visible reminder of life in the vast expanse of white. If it were my son, Matthias says finally, voice low, deliberate, I would want someone to hesitate. Even if only a moment. Even if it costs me everything. The statement hangs between them, heavier than any artillery, louder than any shouted order. Emil swallows, understanding that war is not only fought with rifles and grenades. It is fought in choices, in hesitation, in the faintest whisper of conscience. They descend into the abandoned village slowly, snow muffling every sound. Roofs sag under frost, walls cracked and pitted, windows dark and hollow. The silence here is different, not just the absence of noise, but the presence of history. Every ruined home, every collapsed chimney, speaks of lives interrupted, of decisions unmade. Emil realizes the weight of what has happened. He is not merely surviving the patrol, he is surviving the consequences of choices made in the shadow of authority and fear. They pause beside a broken well. The metal bucket hangs at an angle, rusted, swinging gently with the breeze. Matthias leans on the rim, scanning the horizon again. "You must move now," he says finally. "Before anyone else comes searching." Emil nods. He feels the tremor in his legs, but also a strange clarity. He is no longer merely a hunted soldier. He is a decision-maker, a participant in the fragile balance of life and death. As they walk, Emil catches sight of a dog tag in the snow, half covered by frost. He kneels, brushing it free, seeing the name etched faintly. He pauses, thinking of the lives represented by each fragment of metal, each silent testimony. "War leaves pieces of people behind," he murmurs. Matthias glances at him, expression unreadable. "And sometimes those pieces are all that remain to remind us who we were." They continue westward toward a cluster of trees marking the edge of the forest. The snow deepens again, hiding footprints, masking movement, offering fleeting protection. Emil notices the absence of birds. Even the wind seems hesitant here, as if the land itself holds its breath. Halfway to the forest, Emil turns to Matthias. "What now?" Matthias stops, looking out over the valley one last time. The frost glimmers on the ruins behind them, a reminder of the passage of time and the cost of decisions. "Now," he says quietly, "we leave only traces. Only memories. The rest belongs to history." They move together into the forest, swallowed gradually by trees, the snow softening their passage, erasing the immediate past. Emil's voice breaks the silence once more. "Will they ever know?" "Not all stories are told," Matthias replies. "Some exist only in memory. Some exist only in the choices we make when no one is watching." The forest closes around them. Light filters through bare branches, illuminating frost-laden trunks. Snow crunches underfoot, a soft rhythm marking survival. Finally, they pause at the edge of the trees. The valley behind them is quiet, vast, indifferent. Emil breathes deeply, feeling the weight of every choice, every hesitation, every life touched by war. Emil turns back once, looking at the faint outline of the ridge. The snow is undisturbed now, almost pristine, as if it has forgiven the passage of men through its cold embrace. Matthias speaks, barely above a whisper. "Every story matters. Every memory counts." The camera lingers on frost-crusted objects, the frozen remnants of lives interrupted. A long pause. Silence. Reflection. Then Emil speaks, softly, almost to himself, "We remember, because forgetting is the real war." Narration, quiet and reflective. In the aftermath of conflict, the battlefield is not only measured in territory or victory. It is measured in choices. In hesitation. In moments when courage is quieter than a gunshot, but no less consequential. The faces we never see, the lives we touch unknowingly, these are the true remnants of war. And in remembering them, we preserve our humanity, even in the shadow of devastation. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to help us remember and share stories from the front lines. Stories from the past help us understand humanity in difficult times. Share your thoughts in the comments, every memory matters.